On many people's Balkan itinerary, Mostar in the southern part of Bosnia and Herzegovina might be more popular than the capital Sarajevo. Honestly, I even heard of this city first. From its old town with Ottoman-era heritage, to the iconic Stari Most over the Neretva River, Mostar is easily one of the most beautiful cities in the region. As a bonus, there's also the nearby town of Blagaj, with a monastery that simply doesn't look real. But to understand Mostar fully, we must look back on this city's history from just a few decades ago. Let's spend the next 2 days exploring this unbelievably gorgeous but wounded city. We start our trip in Sarajevo, and I'm going to show you how to go to Mostar by train. You can also take a bus, but the train is the faster and more scenic route. It is around 6 a.m. right now. The sky is just starting to light up, and we're going to make our way over to the railway station. To pick up our ticket, the train to Mostar is at 7:15 a.m. So we made our way over to the train station. There's still nobody here at the ticket office. Even if you buy a ticket online, you're supposed to pick it up at the counter, so maybe we have to wait a while before we can pick up our tickets. The ticket office opens at 6:30 every day, and if you're here during peak season, the line can be quite long, so make sure you give yourself enough time to collect or buy your tickets. We paid 54.2 marks for 2 people round trip. So we finally boarded the train over to Mostar. There's still around 30 minutes until the train will depart. And once again, it's snowing outside. In Sarajevo, it's supposed to be colder than Mostar. Hopefully when we get to Mostar, the weather will be slightly better. I mean, I don't expect there to be clear skies, but at least not a snowstorm, right? There's no assigned seating on the train, and I believe it also takes standing passengers, so come early to secure a good seat. Around 7 o'clock, the train is nearly completely full now. Just a few tunnels later, we can already see the weather difference between the Bosnia region, where Sarajevo is located, and the Herzegovina region in the southern part of the country, where Mostar is located. After a 2-hour train ride that was honestly mostly tunnels, we finally arrived in Mostar. We are here in the old center of the city, and we're gonna head over to the famous bridge. My goodness, it's so beautiful here. Best of all, after being snowy and rainy for the past few days in Sarajevo, there's a little bit of sunlight here in Mostar. Just like the Shia area in Sarajevo, Old Mostar is also an Ottoman-era city. You can tell by all the mosques and minarets on the landscape. Looking over here, there's already countless of minarets. I probably see 5 or 6 just in this one view. Just like Sarajevo, Mostar seems like a city that's built along the river, built on 2 sides of the river. So there's so many layers to this city, from the riverbed up to the very top of the hill. We made it here down by the river for a perfect view of the old bridge. The original Stari Most was actually built in the 16th century, but unfortunately during the Bosnian War it was completely destroyed. The bridge we see right here today is a reconstruction that finished in 2004. In fact, the city's name Mostar literally means bridge keeper or bridge guardian, so it makes sense that this bridge is the centerpiece of the entire city.
在巴尔干的文化语境下，桥无论是在地理上还是在精神上，都是一个非常重要的意象。比如说，诺贝尔文学奖的获得者安德里奇写的《德里纳河上的桥》，比如说萨拉热窝的拉丁桥。桥不仅是作为一个沟通者，沟通两岸不同的民族、不同的宗教、不同的文化，桥也是一个见证者，一直见证着历史变迁、爱恨情仇。
If you watched our Sarajevo trip, you know that we faced a giant snowstorm in the past few days. Bosnia as a country is not that big. Mostar is only a couple hundred kilometers away, but the weather here cannot be more different. Sunshine, blue sky, it's actually quite warm. It feels so comfortable sitting down here by the river, looking at the scenery, looking at all these adorable ducks.
每到夏天，就会有很多人在这个桥上跳水，跳到这个河里面。这个高度真的是跟悬崖跳水差不多了，还是蛮有挑战性的，应该勇敢的人才会来尝试一下吧。在阳光下，这条穿城而过的内雷特瓦河泛着碧绿而透亮的光泽。在山间，它就像一条流动的绸缎一样，又有一种很灵动的透明感。
For lunch today, we're at a small restaurant with a terrace next to the river. The atmosphere here is really awesome. Since we're in the Herzegovina region, we got the Herzegovina platter. This platter has two main dishes from the region, doma, which is like a stuffed pepper, and japrak, which is minced meat stuffed inside leaves. Other than the platter, we also got some cevapi, which of course is a staple here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. First, let's try the japrak on the platter. The paprika flavor in there is very strong. The leaves are actually steamed quite through already, so it basically completely dissolves in your mouth. All the texture comes from the mincemeat that's inside. The leaves here are called rastika, which is sort of like collard greens, but grape leaves are also commonly used. Now we're going to try the other dish, the doma. Originally when I cut it open, I thought the flavor was going to be exactly the same. But no, the meat here is definitely more firm. The flavor mainly comes from that tomatoey sauce, and the bell peppers give it a little bit of bitterness, surprisingly. Doma is actually an umbrella term for hollowed out stuffed vegetable dishes, but the bell pepper doma is one of the most popular. Both items were delicious, but I think I prefer the japrak. And then of course we got the cevapi, which is like a meat sausage dish. We've had this multiple times on our Balkan trip already, so I won't speak too much about it. Let's see if this one is any different. I have to say, unfortunately, the cevapi is not as good as the one we had in Sarajevo. If you want good cevapi, you have to go to a store that only sells cevapi. That's the right place to eat it.
我觉得最值得尝试的应该还是这个拼盘。虽然整个巴尔干地区呢都有在菜里包肉的习惯，但是每个国家的做法还是会有细微的差别。
Here in Mostar, there are so many restaurants on the balcony, on the terrace, next to the river. It might seem touristy. I mean, the prices are definitely tourist prices, but honestly, the atmosphere is very enjoyable, especially on a sunny day like today. The part of Mostar near the old bridge is filled with souvenir shops, restaurants, cafes. But if you go a little bit outside of that area, it's really relaxing. This afternoon, we're briefly leaving the city center of Mostar and heading to a beautiful little town nearby called Blagaj. To go there, take either bus 10 or 12. There are plenty of stops in the city center, but the easiest one to find is near the railway station. After around a 30-minute bus ride, we arrived in the small town of Blagaj. We still need to walk a while to head over to the destination, but it shouldn't take that long, and this town is very beautiful. The two most iconic destinations here are the Blagaj Fortress and the monastery. But since we want to return to Mostar for sunset, I don't think we'll hike up to the fort. After a short walk, we are here at the Blagaj Tekke, and it might just be worth it on its own. So now we made it in front of the Ottoman-era monastery that's built here underneath this giant rock face in order to be sort of isolated from the rest of the world. A great place for a monastery. Obviously right now it's no longer that isolated. There are restaurants all along the river. But honestly, if you just look at this corner, it's quite visually striking. That giant towering rock face looks like it's completely squishing the monastery underneath it. The white building with the green water with that mountain right behind it. It's a really cool sight. And now we made our way inside the actual monastery. You do have to pay an entry fee, 10 marks or 5 euros. Blagaj Tekke is a dervish monastery, part of a unique Sufi branch of Islam. This house we see right here was originally built in the 15th century, though this area was used as a sacred religious site long before that. When entering, women must cover their hair and everyone must take off their shoes. The atmosphere kind of feels like entering a mosque, but at the same time also like stepping into someone's home. With the afternoon light shining into the room, it's a very serene place to be. The house itself is in fact quite small, but it does have an elegant style to it. And it still is an active religious site, so people will come here and pray. Women pray upstairs and men pray downstairs. Around the house, you will see many quotes related to water, as it holds a very sacred meaning for the dervish. Flowing water represents spiritual life, knowledge, and purification, making the location of the Blagaj Tekke over the Buna River absolutely perfect for them. Everywhere in the monastery, you can clearly hear the sound of the flowing river. It's not just a pretty place. So overall, I do think Blagaj is a great place to visit if you're doing an overnight trip to Mostar. The monastery house itself is a bit small, but if you just want to come here and look at the stream, look at the waterfall and the house from afar, it's still very worth it. So we made it back to the bus station for our bus ride to Mostar. Public transportation can be very unreliable sometimes here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Let's just pray that we can catch the bus. In the end, the bus was delayed by 30 minutes, but at least we made it back to the city center. Since we woke up at 5 a.m. today to go and catch the train, we really need some caffeine right now in the afternoon. We found a nice cafe, and we're gonna try something that's a speciality of this country, Bosnian coffee. So apparently when drinking Bosnian coffee, there are some special steps that you need to follow. If there are any Bosnians watching this video, please let me know if I'm doing this correctly or not. First, you take the spoon and you scoop up the very top layer of foam that's on the coffee. Next, you pour some of the coffee into the little cup. And then here is the very interesting part. Usually when you eat sugar and coffee, you put the sugar inside the coffee, but not here. Here, you're supposed to take one of the sugar cubes, dip it into the coffee first. Now you have a coffee-flavored sugar cube, and you take a bite out of the sugar cube. With all that sugar in your mouth, now you take a sip of coffee. Oh my goodness, I need more sugar. That has got to be one of the strongest, most bitter coffee I've ever had. Stronger than any sort of espresso. No wonder you have to eat the entire piece of sugar cube.
Ooh. 好苦，还是好苦，我得再吃半口糖。
连糖都变苦。
Maybe this will go very well with this sugary piece of baklava, but unfortunately this cafe doesn't serve baklava. I'm not a big coffee drinker myself. Usually I prefer this latte over here.
他们这边也有用咖啡渣来算命的传统 ，and 我是看不出什么东西了，但是我还是蛮喜欢这个仪式的。
If you like strong coffee, you gotta try this. Similar to what we found in Sarajevo, here in Mostar there are also many artists' workshops. And of course, that means there are tons of cool postcards to pick from. I think this is one of the best things about the old towns in Bosnia. These postcards and souvenirs I got in Sarajevo and Mostar are easily my favorite in all of Europe. The artwork here is very abstract, I love it. I think most people do only come to Mostar as a day trip, either from Sarajevo or nearby Croatia. But if you only come here for a day trip, you won't be able to see the sunset and this very beautiful golden light. And at the same time right now, most of the day trip tourists are gone already, so there's fewer people in Mostar. There's more space for us to enjoy this amazing view. Even though you can probably finish all the touristy parts of Mostar in a day, in an afternoon even, I feel like we made the right decision to stay overnight. It seems like most people who visit Mostar only stick around the old bridge area. But I mean, if you're on the old bridge, you can't see the old bridge. If you just go one bridge over at the Luchki Bridge, this is where you can get that postcard view of Mostar. We wanted to find a higher vantage point to watch the sunset so we can see the entire city. And we made our way up to this church that's under construction. Even though the viewing platform is not that glamorous, the cityscape view is very nice. From this higher angle, you can really see that Mostar is more than just that old town area. In fact, it is the biggest city in the Herzegovina region. Day 2 in Mostar, and instead of sticking to the old town, today we're checking out the more contemporary side of the city. While the old town feels like a charming time capsule of its Ottoman-era heritage, walking through the newer areas of Mostar, we can clearly see the scars of the Bosnian War from just a few decades ago. If you only visit the touristy areas, it might be hard to imagine that not long ago, this city was a battlefield. We once again walk past many buildings, many ruins from the Bosnian War. Some of these are left completely untouched in that falling apart state as a constant reminder of the past. But some of them also have art installations on them. For example, this building behind me. There's a kid sitting on a swing looking at this completely destroyed building. In May 1993, fighting broke out in Mostar between the Bosnian Croats and the Bosniaks. As a traveler, I'm not here to give a history lesson, nor am I qualified to. But these remnants from that dark period of time really speak for themselves. This building I'm standing next to was used as a sniper tower during the war, but obviously it did not begin its life that way. It used to be a bank. Now, as you can see, there are zero traces of what it used to be. There's no signage or anything telling you the meaning behind these artworks. That's all up to your interpretation. But I think it's nice that art is being used as a way of remembering and honoring. These abandoned buildings are all from decades ago already, and I don't think they will ever be demolished. They will continue to stand here as a mark of history. The area we're at right now is around the Spanish Square, which is a memorial for the Spanish soldiers who served in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the war. Around the square there are many schools, universities. In fact, the University of Mostar is nearby here. This is an area that's filled with life, filled with hope for the future.
这么漂亮一栋楼，就跟对面的战争遗迹仅仅是一街之隔，而且来来往往的都是从学校里出来的这些笑容明亮的年轻人。这就是一个大家经常会路过正常生活的市民的街区。 感觉生活在这个城市里的人，大家都已经习惯了跟这些伤痕相处。回忆是不应该被忘记的，但是生活也是要继续的。
For the rest of the day, we put our cameras away and spend the time enjoying this beautiful sunshine in the more modern areas of Mostar. But before leaving the city and catching the 5 p.m. train to Sarajevo, we are back at the old town to see the bridge one more time. A couple decades after the war, I wouldn't say this country has moved on from that part of history, but it's definitely recovering. The people here are very welcoming and friendly towards tourists, and they're all very eager to share their culture. Before coming here, Bosnia and Herzegovina and even the Balkan region in general was just a tragedy in a history book. But I feel like more people should come here to actually see the beauty of these countries rather than just knowing it by one devastating event. Mostar, Bosnia and Herzegovina, is a place where incredible beauty and deep wounds coexist under the same sky. I think its history makes me appreciate this view even more. In the light, it's truly a magnificent place, and I hope it never gets clouded by darkness ever again.